Hey, everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. If you've been following Boomerocity at least for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, you know that I have interviewed a up and coming young woman, a phenomenal songwriter and performer and instrumentalist. Her name is Allie Colleen, and she comes from a pretty powerful pedigree. Won't go into it. If you want to find out, you can research it. I want her to stand on her own because she is that good. And I keep touting that. And if you haven't listened to her, you need to, because I'm telling you the truth. Allie is amazing. I love her songwriting. I love her musicianship. Love watching her perform. She puts on a great show. And so after watching this, she's younger. She's not a baby boomer. Um, Her famous dad is, but she gets my attention because just by herself, she is phenomenal. I have yet to see her with a band, so I can only imagine what she is like performing live with a band. And so I can't say enough. Please watch this interview with her. I've interviewed her 3 or 4 other times. Watch those as well. These are fun interviews. She's very straightforward, fun, laid back. You'll love her as a person just as you will as a musical artist. And if you don't mind, after you've watched it, would you hit like? Then would you hit subscribe? And then would you share it with your friends and ask them to do the same thing? Because we just need your subscriptions and your likes. That's the lifeblood of any channel that you listen to or watch, and we're no different. So without any further ado, here's my latest interview with the great and lovely Allie Colleen. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. How have you been? It's been a few months since we last spoke.
I know. I've been very well. I've just been trying to stay busy. Um, just trying to stay busy and just trying to, you know, just keep enjoying it. Really looking forward to summer. I'm happy that it's not cold anymore. All good things.
Well, it's been a little cool. I'm in the Smoky Mountains, so it's the nights have
Oh,
been pretty cool up here. I've been surprised. So, but yeah, it's about ready for sunburn weather now. So,
I know. We'll just move from one thing to the next, but I
yep,
like it.
yep. So, love the new song. Gosh, what Allie, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I have to be careful because I always quote MASH, and Hawkeye says something like, I mean it from the heart of my bottom, and I have to stop and I have to stop and make sure I don't
Yeah.
mess up. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. So, but your songwriting, I've followed you for 4 or 5 years now. We first talked just before the shutdown, or as the shutdown was happening,
Right.
and I'm blown away by how you hit the ground running with great songwriting,
Thank
and
you.
you just continue to go. You team up with great people. Your
Yeah.
standalone songwriting is, I mean, well beyond your years. And so I just wanted to say that before we got into this song in particular,
Thank
because
you.
my goodness, that's a deep song. Tell me the story behind it.
Yeah, I love this song. I'm very, very proud of this song. I don't want to jump too far ahead because I know we'll cover it, but I see our beautiful "While We're Still Friends" artwork as well in your background, which I love. And "Grass in the Grave" is just kind of what came out of "While We're Still Friends." "While We're Still Friends" was the last release that we did back in February, and that song, as much as my whole career goal this whole time has been to write songs for other people. You know what I mean? Even though all of my songs really do come from a personal narrative, nothing's about me. Like, I love writing music for people, and I hope that my listeners can just continue to attach themselves to the narratives that I write. I've always hoped that. But with that said, "While We're Still Friends" was very personal for me in the sense of it came out of this season of divorce that I had, which was, supposed to be a forever relationship and then ended up not being. And
Mm,
so all of that to say, "Grass in the Grave," I went into the writing room that day and said, "Hey guys, we get one follow-up divorce song, okay? I'm doing one, I'm not doing any more. We're doing one. And we're
yeah,
gonna do it right, and we're gonna do it kind, and it's gonna say everything we could need to say, and we're moving on. We're done." And so that's what we wanted to do with "Grass in the Grave," was we wanted to give that season, that relationship, that topic one more thing, for me to write about and to kind of get some closure and to treat it the way I wanted to treat it. And then we're gonna move on. So
yeah.
all I had to say, "Grass in the Grave," was just kind of anything I had left to say about that was grass in the grave. Just how grateful I was for the season and, how proud I was for how we both handled it and all that it was. And now grass is on the grave and we're both going to be okay and we're moving on and let's go, like on the new seasons, on the new things. So I'm hoping that grass in the grave does the same thing for my listeners in the sense of I hope it gives some closure that was needed in an area that needed closure and you're going to be okay now and let's go. We got some work to
Yep.
do. Let's move
Yep.
on.
Well, having gone through a divorce myself, I know what you're talking about. Of course, I was quite a bit older than you are, but yeah, it's and I commend you um, for saying that, for it not being a typical country music song. That's
Yeah, I was
Patrick
like,
Nell
we're
was
not gonna hurt
going,
each
what?
other. Yeah, we're not gonna hurt each other. We're not gonna discuss what we kept and what we lost. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna tell everyone how we divided the house. We're not gonna do
Who
that.
got the
We're
truck?
gonna
Right. So,
exactly, exactly. We're gonna be fine, you guys.
yeah.
So no,
Yeah.
we wanted to paint that in a different way. Even just same thing with while we're still friends. Just wanted to create a space for that time too. And wanting to create a kind space for that time because I just feel like blame is the first place that we go to when relationships like that end on who could have done something better and who's really at fault for why this isn't going to work out and all and blah blah blah. And it was like, no, I think both of these can be written in a very kind space, and that was something that we tried really hard to do that I think we did very well.
So,
Hopefully.
so on Grass on the Grave, that also was tied to the loss of a songwriting friend, was it not? Or did I?
So one of my co-writers, I wrote "Grass in the Grave" with Alyssa and Crystal and Mr. Craig, and it was my first time meeting all three of them. We'd known each other before the write, but it was kind of the first time we sat down. We lost Craig since we wrote that song,
Right.
so we really wanted to acknowledge Craig. In the release of it, it was a song that Craig really really cared about as well, and a song that Craig worked really hard to kind of get out the way that Allie would say it. Craig really cared about how Allie would sing the song and how the song particularly, aligned with Allie. And also Craig cared about Allie in the sense of, Craig was kind of like, Allie, we know that you're not going to do this follow-up song the way that most people would do it, in the sense of the same joke we kind of just made about country music. It's like, we're not going to tell this story that way. And
Right.
so Craig was just very responsible that day for advocating for me and who I am as a writer and an artist and someone who, again, is telling a personal narrative. So we lost Craig a couple months after we wrote this song to some heart condition issues that none of us were aware of that he was going through. So
Mm.
through this whole release process, we've just really tried to just um, pay respects to Craig and everything that he left behind and his legacy of a songwriter and stuff that we're all very proud of working together with Craig on. So
Well, I know, as fans, I'm sure, always come up and tell you things about what a song means to them that you have written or co-written. So many times I don't write songs. I'd be doing good to do Itsy Bitsy Spider or something, but you know, and I'm not a musician, but it's songs that touch us deeply. And for old people like me, we hear a song, it takes us straight back, 40, 50 years to high school and such. But and even though those songs that you songwriters write become personal to us and speak to us, how much more it has to be for, I mean, here's two songs we've talked about something deeply personal to you and your co-writers about painful subjects. I mean, do you feel like, do you feel vulnerable when you do a song like this? And that may be a dumb question, but I'm just really curious because that seems to put a lot of vulnerability out there for the world to see. How do you feel about that?
I know that these two songs for me have been probably more of the most vulnerable that I've put out in the sense of when my career started. Um, my partner had a very large role in my career getting started. We were both just kids, and he would drive me to a lot of my shows, and he would sell merch, and he would do all those things, and he was a big part in the beginning of my career,
Mhm.
as far as the fans that we got really early on, right? Because where I was busy, he wasn't. He was selling, in the sense of he was selling merchandise. He would love to sit down and talk with you. So there's a lot of fans that I have from the very beginning who were just as much in love, with him as they were with me, just in the sense that like we were good friends. And so that that became very vulnerable for me to then go on the road and have this song about divorce and this whole season ending. And I can only imagine, where other people would fill in the gaps of what I wasn't talking about, in the sense of I was very nervous for a very long time that he had some kind of bad light on him on the road. And so it was always very adamant for me to paint to like, no, I love my old partner. Like, what a kind human being, you guys. And so that for me is songwriting my whole life has always been something I've been very protective of. I've always been very protective of my characters. I think there's a lot of artists and songwriters out there, especially in contemporary music right now, that are kind of really well known for writing narratives about people that we all know, and kind of allowing us to kind of imagine what your personal life is to us. I've never felt comfortable in that world. I've always wanted to protect my characters and to protect the people that I write about because I know they're not out there getting to have this interview today. Like they're not getting this time to speak their piece and to be kind and all of that stuff. And I hope that they would be, and I know that they would be. But they also have an opportunity, to let some dirt out on me or whatever the case might be. So that's where the vulnerability comes from for me in this season of songwriting for me, was really wanting everything to be clear on, I'm not one of those person who hates my partner or would take back any of the time that was had in that kind of realm or any of those things. And then also for me as a woman who got divorced at 25, I'm 28 now or will be, that was also very embarrassing to me, was to be a girl who thought, I'm not going to get one of those. I'm not going to be someone who gets married young and divorced early. I'm not going to do that. And then that was my narrative. That was what happened. So all of that created a lot of vulnerability for me. That I didn't know how to navigate. But all I've done is continue to meet people like me,
Yeah.
who love these songs and love these stories. And whether it was a, a boyfriend they had for 12 years or a husband they had for 2 or whatever the case is, I just keep meeting all of these people who needed these songs. And I think that's when you kind of get to pat yourself on the back a little bit and be like, Al, you did a good job here. Like you wrote about something you didn't want to write about. And it's because at the end of the day, nothing's ever been about me. At the end of the day, everything is about this incredible gift that I've been given to write songs for people in their seasons when they need them. And if I have to go through something to write a song for you, I'm honored to do it.
Has there been anybody come up to you and especially about either of these 2 songs here that said, "Wow, Allie, you must have been reading my mail or something." I mean, is there any particular story that comes to mind that a
There's been so many. There has been so many people that have came up to me, especially in regards to while we're still friends. Um, because having Lee on that song really added that character that doesn't get to speak their part. Lee and I were very intentional and while we're still friends and trying to make his feature where he came in, really trying to make it something to where it's it's not only Lee Bryce, but it's that other character in your world that's coming in with you also being like, hey, I love you. We're gonna end this now. Like this is gonna stop. And I can't tell you how many people have been so kind. Um, in relating to that narrative and being like, no, my divorce wasn't nasty. My divorce was kind and my divorce was whatever and blah, blah, blah. And all these really amazing stories of these people who made it work in a season where, culture wise, we usually don't make it work, kind of thing. And so that's been incredible, the amount of support I've received from both men and women on the narratives of these songs. And I love that they're never the same. Like I said earlier, sometimes it's a girl who just broke up with her boyfriend that she's had for 6 months, and then she's in high school and she's having a hard time. And for some people, it's been women in their 60s and 70s who were divorced in their 30s and it's still something that they're processing. Or they just got divorced in their 60s and it's someone they met in their 20s. Like
yeah.
it's been all across the board on the types of relationships and the type of people that have related to these songs. And I think that's always something that kind of gives us a pretty good like, hey, you did a good job here.
Yeah. Well, one thing I mean, I don't know you that well. I've interviewed you a few times, saw you perform a couple times. First time was with your partner, and I was struck by how well you guys fired off of each other, and everything was very much in sync. But one thing I do feel like I know about you, Allie, is that you're a great collaborator. You love collaborating with people. It's not all, you're not trying to hoard things to yourself or anything. And so with that said, and especially after coming off these songs, are there uh, is there anyone that you are really wanting to work with that you haven't got to work with yet?
Yes, there's so many. I still I wanna write with Ashley McBryde so bad. I just think that that would be, oh my gosh, it'd just be cheesecake, you know what I mean? It'd be the greatest thing on the planet. It would be amazing. I would love to sing, and perform with a vocalist like Teddy Swims, like, just like a huge, like, powerhouse vocalist, I think would be incredible on both sides of the spectrum, so male and female, so maybe Teddy Swims and Kelly Clarkson kind of thing,
Mhm.
would be amazing. And then just in the past, there's 2 people that I love to just shout out if you guys aren't familiar with that I have worked with in the past. And one is my best friend, Carly Rogers. We have a
Mhm.
duet out called Blame It on the Wine, which
Mhm.
is really interesting because as um, 2 very, proudly straight women, it is the hottest female duet I've ever been a part of in my life. I love that song
Yeah.
so much, and it's mainly just about Carly and I both being like, "Screw every guy here, let's drink wine and go home together. We'll be fine. We'll figure it out." So if you guys haven't checked out Carly Rogers, please do. And then I have a duet out with Carter Winter called "Love
Mm.
Like I Drink," which is the greatest country music duet song on the planet. I know we've talked about this. I'll never not talk about it. I love that song. And hopefully we'll get to do projects in the future as well, that you guys can look out for. But I would love to work with Carly again. I would love to continue to work with Carter, and I would love to do some stuff with just some big, big vocalists in the pop world. I think would be insane. Miley Cyrus is also a dream of mine. That would be incredible.
Need to do another wrecking ball or something, right? So,
I would do it. I would absolutely do it.
so what else is on your radar for the rest of the year and going into next year?
this This song, "Grass in the Grave," was the first release of a 5-song EP that we just recorded that we're very proud of and excited for. A new producer on this one, which I'm also just as excited for. We put out a song called "Halos and Horns" last year or the year before that
Mhm.
is just sonically massive. It's just a very big song. I wait for it all set every time we perform live. I just wait on "Halos and Horns." And so now I've really geared the next season of music sonically into kind of that space. Grass in the Grave has a little bit of it in the sense of it's really got that electric guitar lead kind of thing
Mhm.
that it features. So all that to say, Mr. Dave Fahanish and I have done 5 songs, Grass in the Grave included, that will be coming out this year, kind of back to back that we're really excited about sonically, kind of featuring that kind of heavier side of my songwriting and what I like to do, and more of like what I was raised on, very much more like Amy Lee Evanescence stuff, that I absolutely grew up loving. So really excited about the new music, and then just trying to stay on the road as much as we can to keep playing this new music in new markets that we haven't really got to hit before. So still very much um, in a growing season as we have always been and hopefully always will be. But um, still very much in a growing season. Just really looking forward to this year and the opportunities that are coming up for us.
Well, I hope you get to my neck of the woods here in East Tennessee. And if I'm over in your neck of the woods and near Nashville and I see you're gigging somewhere, I'll drop in to catch your show again. I always love watching you perform. And like I said, I've watched you a couple times doing it, and you put on a great show. So anybody watching this when it posts, they need to look you up and see where you're gonna be
Please.
performing near them. So
Please, please, please. I'm on all the socials. I do all the things, but I always like to say, if you personally like artists, like if you like artists on a personal level, Instagram is kind of my space where you meet my horses. We do horses, makeup, and music. It's kind of my 3 things that we
I
care
see you
about
on there.
on
So
Instagram. Those are kind of our 3 things. Those are my 3 worlds that I let you guys into. In the summer, I let you into paddleboarding as well. So we'll do all that together on Instagram. Otherwise, TikTok for the trends, website for anything else you guys are looking for, tour dates, merchandise, all that kind of stuff. Allie Colleen Music. But Allie Colleen Music on Instagram. Give me a follow, you guys. And I would love to see you all at shows. I would love to see you at a show again. And come see us on the road. It's a pretty good time. We get a little rowdy, but we have a fun time.
it's fun. I enjoy it even being an old fart like me.
I
So,
love it. I love it. If you can hang, you can hang, baby.
well, Allie, it's great to see you again. As you already know, my door is always open to you, and look forward to seeing you on the road sometime in the coming months.
Thank you. I look forward to it, Rainey. Thank you for having me again. I really appreciate it. Good to
All
see
right,
you.
take care, girl. Be safe. All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.